Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Money Talks with Njadeka. On today's episode, we are going to talk about how estate planning, it doesn't begin with your first property, it starts with your first account. When it comes to estate planning, there are 3 reasons why you should take it serious. 1, it takes some of the stress off of your family. We already know that that's a hard time if somebody's lost a loved one. 2, it alleviates the financial burden, okay? And 3, it ensures that you get what you want. But I think that people oftentimes misunderstand the power of estate planning. It's not just for when you have a bunch of assets. It also is when you have even the basic of assets. It starts with not your first property, it starts with your first account. So, 1, no matter what you say out of your mouth, always remember that having an actual estate plan secures what you want. Even if you don't own anything, right? The question often is, are there any estate planning things that I need to do? Absolutely. One of those things is you want to be sure to designate your beneficiaries on all of your accounts. If you have bank accounts, checking accounts, even if you have a retirement account with your job, you have other investments, a brokerage account, okay, where you trade stocks, things like that, you need beneficiaries on them. When you go through a bank account, you want to ask that bank teller for a POD, okay? That's payable on death form. And you want to update that form annually. All of your accounts will allow you to do that, okay? Another question might be, well, is there a difference between using an attorney and doing it myself? Yes, there is. Now, when it's a little bit more simpler, you're absolutely correct. Just a basic account, listen, you can just write your beneficiary on a form and you'll be just fine. But when it begins to get a little bit more complex, when you begin to grow assets, when you begin to add on, you have a business, when you have property, you want to tap into an estate planning attorney. They can offer a way more tailored solution that's specific to your situation. Other examples, things that you want to keep in mind when it comes to when that time comes for you, right? When my estate has gotten so complex that I need an actual estate plan. One thing you'll need is a last will and testament. Second thing you'll need is a power of attorney. That's a document, 2 specific ones. One that's gonna address your finances. So if you ever become incapacitated and you can't make financial decisions for yourself, you're gonna designate the person that'll do that for you. Another power of attorney form is the health directive, okay? It is a medical directive. So again, in the case that you become incapacitated, somebody can make medical decisions on your behalf. You not only want to do one with an estate planning attorney, you also want to do one with your medical facility. There are some facilities that will have you fill out that form yourself, okay? So you want to make sure that you tap into that as well. The other thing is a revocable living trust. Listen, this is so important. When it comes to property, you want to make sure that that property is moved into a living trust. When my siblings and I did this for my parents, so my parents are in their 80s, okay? My mom's in her 70s, my father's in his 80s. They put their blood, sweat, and tears into making sure that their children's lives were set, right? Were together. One of the things that they purchased was a home back in the 80s. They've lived in that same property for over 30 years, okay? I've been there since I was 2. But if they were to pass away, do you think that they want to make sure that that house stays in our name? Absolutely. And so one of the ways to be able to do that is not just by saying it, right? Not just by saying it out of their mouth. You got to put it on paper. If something were to happen to my parents, the judges, I can't tell the judge, hey, but my father said, right? Or my mother said. No, that doesn't hold up. What holds up is that revocable living trust. So what a trust is it's basically a receptacle. And so what we had to do was we put our house in that receptacle, and it is our family name, Living Trust. And so if something were to happen to my parents, it's not that the house gets lost, no, the trust is still alive, right? My parents might have passed, but the trust is still alive, and the trust has its own beneficiary. So that's really, really important, okay? The other thing is guardianship instructions. If you have children, if you have people that are dependent on you in some way, guardianship instructions are so important, okay? You gotta make sure that people know, especially if you have children under the age of 18, if you have dependent family members, that they have instructions on who is going to be able to take care of them if something were to happen to you. So again, even if you don't have property up front, there's always a place for estate planning. And so when that time comes and your estate gets a little bit more complex, you now know the different things that you need to have in place in order to secure your legacy. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you learned something today. And please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. And if you have any questions about estate planning, be sure that you put them in the comments below. See you on the next one.